Are we being taken back into serfdom? We're seeing control of the economy, and now these crop losses mounting, and everybody wants to know where the money is and where the people are. Remember, you're property of your country. And I was talking to somebody, and they were taking on the role of being, well, an oligarch or billionaire or somebody at the higher echelons of monetary wealth. And overlooking as a country, it's like, you and me, that's my property. And the property of my property is my property. So we start to look like, why is everything being so tightly controlled? Well, because the amplification can't be hidden any longer, and it's kind of at the time where there was some signal given, boom, game on, so now everything's on. Have you noticed the uptick in everything at the moment? It's like the everything uptick. Starting over here, Catalonia, Spain's been getting crushed. Not only do they have the record floods down in Barcelona, but they had now these massive hailstorms, record floods. Now, it doesn't look like that large of hail, these little pea-size or gravel-size hail, as they call it. But their fruit crops have been just obliterated this year. Hundreds of thousands of acres damaged by hail. And then also the incredible flooding didn't help on top of anything. And you're just looking at a lot of fruit littering the ground, hail damage, and it takes a whole year for these to come back. So the farmers are going to need assistance. They're already talking about not having any fruit for this, not hiring the laborers. There's just a huge amount of things going back with this supply chain on fruit harvesting. Another hailstorm, different area, Christian, the municipalities. 90% of the fruits in these areas are damaged, and you can see in the rows, this pea-sized hail still does some massive damage. And jumping back to the states, Michigan. This is not wind damage from a tornado ripping the tops off the trees. This is hail damage, stripped. As you can see, that ice from the sky can do a lot of damage. But then if we swing back to Europe again, now they're in droughts in a lot of areas here, France, Belgium, Britain, and Germany. Incredible low yields going to be coming out of their wheat crop this year, as well as other crops to be specific, but mainly focused on wheat as a staple crop, down. Estimates are around 15+%. We'll see as it moves on through the maturation phase of the crops here. Now down in South America, this is Telenoche in Argentina. Tomato and bell peppers ripping. We saw it with India, prices ripping there and everywhere. North Korea, Pakistan, everywhere. Prices are ripping, including the United States, upward. So tomatoes that were $200 a kilo suddenly are $300 a kilo. And I thought, well, I heard some problems with the Argentinian peso. So I dug back in a little bit here. Exchange rate today is 1,143 to $1 US. And if you transit all the way to the left of the chart there, that's 2020. It was 68 was the exchange rate. And then just a short 5 years later, you have to look at that. Who can afford that inflation? So I did it in a tabular format here for you, and I actually went back a couple more years than just 2020. 2019, it was 48 for the exchange rate. Now it's 1,131. I'm like, that's not exactly simple math to do, so I had to use a calculator. 23 times increase in prices. There's a well-known saying on Wall Street, sell in May and go away. This year, even the big players are echoing that sentiment. Bank of America and UBS are both urging caution, advising investors to sell the rally. Markets are still struggling to regain their footing. We've seen over $11 trillion in wealth erased from U.S. equities, and the broader economic outlook remains uncertain. Historically, periods like this have often led to increases in central bank intervention, which more often than not means more money printing and a weaker dollar. In uncertain environments, one asset has shown remarkable resilience over thousands of years: physical gold. And Goldman Sachs is projecting a possible rise to $4,000 an ounce by 2026. If you're looking for stability in turbulent times, owning physical gold can offer a level of diversification and protection that paper assets simply can't. Here's the next step. Call Monetary Gold at 1-888-570-2636. Ask how you can hold gold in a tax advantage IRA and what incentives they have today. Again, that's 1-888-570-2636. And tell them Adapt 2030 sent you. So I'd ask you the question then, can you withstand a 23x increase in pricing? Imagine the shrinkflation the companies will go through first. Now that type of increase, I don't think anybody can handle that. It's just a wonder. I want to understand like how people in Argentina really think about this and how they've gotten through it. It's an incredible case study because it's already happened in many a nation before. Yeah, you can talk about Weimar Republic, but that's exception. Zimbabwe, once in and Venezuela, but not to go into the 10,000 times or a million times inflation type of thing, but something in that 20 to 25 range. A lot of countries are going to be trending toward this with food prices, fiat currency losing value, and then what we're seeing with this breakdown in trade where everything's shifting back to their home nations to get manufactured, but the labor costs there, unless it's all AI and robotics, but then to set up the plants themselves to do like 3D printing on demand and these sort of things is still going to be outrageously expensive. So all I see across the landscape is food's going up, general goods are going up, wages are not going up, fiat across the world is devaluing, crypto's up, silver's up, gold's up, and you start to see there's a disconnect and things are starting to break at the seams here. And I'm just wondering, what type of inflation we could expect as a standard, 5x, 10x, 20x, moving forward through the next few years. 5 years, that's all it takes to get up to those levels. So the countdown begins. Everything is centered around 2030, and we're at 2025, mid-range through. They and these planners had expected a full, resetting of the system by 2030. So between that 4.5 years, how many more times are prices going to increase and things become less available? And why do they want to know where everybody is and what you're spending? It's just food after all. Beef. And these prices keep going up and up and up. So this is one of the latest charts I had. I know it's gone up since here, so find the one you can. I know wholesale pricing was the record highest ever, AH, and it just keeps going up, and that's for live cattle weight as well. Ground beef price, doesn't matter where you look, it's up and up. Now over to Japan as well, wholesale rice prices have just skyrocketed from 12,500 right up to 27,500. So that's a little more than doubling, like 110%, 1.1 times up. Now again, that's going to dent into people's disposable income, and we just see this again and again. Even the food's the most important thing. If you can't buy food, you don't have a civilization. People can't work without food. They don't have the level. They're going to be angry. Everything's spent on food, rent, and that's it, and there's no fun, and you have a disaster in society. So a moment of Zen. The green hills, full of life. Speaking of that, yesterday's video telling you about the extremes around the planet, from the forest fires in Saudi Arabia, the dust devils in Manchester, England. I thought I'd do a comparison. Thanks, YouTube. The video views 3,200, 889 likes, but then you compare it with something that I did with Bob Kudlow when we were at the live trading event. Nearly the same, 824 likes, but 3 times the amount of views almost. YouTube doing their best to punch it with the algorithm, so please subscribe to the channel, share with your friends and family. So what got me on this chart was the Argentinian peso. Because I was looking for things from 2020 to this period, and this chart popped up for me from the World Bank, and that's the Federal Reserve FRED. Now, mind you, this is only the last 10 years. This does not start back from 1913 when the original dollar had a full dollar of purchasing power after the Federal Reserve was created. We've lost this much purchasing power from the U.S. dollar, 46%, just in the last 10 years of what was left of the minimal amount of purchasing power then. Look at the Chinese yuan, 61% down. I mean, as we look, even if you were going to follow this down, there has to be something done. There would have to be some sort of resetting anyway. And now we come into something tumultuous that's reducing crop yields and driving food prices. That's a bad combo. That's the whole thing. They're setting up a new system with the same players that went completely awry and broke our system. And they want to let them set up the new system. But you're going to have to get corralled into that. They're doing away with cash. Eventually, they're going to want to know where your gold and silver is. Your crypto absolutely is KYC, right? Every single transaction they want to monitor. But it's kind of very apparent where we're heading, and I want to know why we need to reset at this point. Unless we're coming into some sort of catastrophic crop losses here and complete almost near breakdown of society, why would you reset the system if you could just print infinite money? See, something is not right. Something is definitely amiss. This system has been put together with baling wire and duct tape for decades, and they could continue to do the same for another couple of decades. Truly they could. We could buy back our own bonds. Europe can buy back their own bonds. Everybody can pretend like there's a need for it. We can artificially set rates. You can artificially manipulate the gold market. And now the big players are all buying up all the Bitcoin on the planet. That's going to be a new asset. They're going to get all the gold trying to in the central banks. That's another asset. But why do we need to reset it? It could have gone on to infinity with the fakeness. So something has broken to the point where they can't fake it any longer, even with the fake money supply. Put that into perspective for a second. The illusion that's fake can't be faked any longer, because faking that much fakeness, people would notice that it's even faker. Does that make sense? Because I'm looking back here in 1939, and I like what I see. Super speed train locomotives of the day, which we could have built upon, and no, we had to come back to putt-putt motorized transportation, but hey, doing a good job thinking outside the box with this one here. And even now, the very unthinkable itself is happening. Supreme Court rules the Fed is quasi-private. So why is it allowed to print the dollar? It shouldn't be, but it is. Our friend gold. I love the octopus. This is Mycenaean, 3,500 years prior. Mintage, still good today, as it was 3,500 years ago. I don't think a Federal Reserve note. We'll be putting those in museum cases. But with that last news article about the Fed, that's absolutely the shift. The signal has been given that we are moving away from the old monetary system to the new one. And please remember to join us Thursday nights, 10 p.m. to midnight, Rumble, on the Civilization Cycle channel, where we run through this 2 hours at a time with Ransom Godwin and myself. It's really important to keep these conversations going. I appreciate you watching. Hope you got something out of the video. See you next time. Bye for now.